tumbling down in the city that we love. Gray clouds run over the hills, bringing darkness from above. But if you close your eyes, does it almost seem like nothing's changed at all? And if you close your eyes, does it almost feel like you've been here before? How am I gonna be an optimist about this? How am I gonna be an optimist about this? We were caught up and lost in all of our vices. In your blows as the dust settled around us, and the walls kept tumbling down in the city that we love. Gray clouds roll over the hill, bringing darkness from above. And if you close your eyes, does it almost feel like nothing changed at all? And if you close your eyes, does it almost feel like you've been here before? How am I gonna be an optimist about this? How am I gonna be an optimist about this? Eh, oh, eh, oh, eh, eh, oh, eh, oh, eh, eh, oh, eh, oh, eh, eh, oh, eh, oh. Oh, where do we begin? The rubble or our sins? Oh, where do we begin? The rubble or our sins? Oh, walls kept tumbling down in the city that we love. Clouds roll over the hills, bringing darkness from above. But if you close your eyes, does it almost feel like nothing changed at all? And if you close your eyes, does it almost feel like you've been here before? How am I gonna be an optimist about this? How am I gonna be an optimist about this? Close your eyes. Does it almost feel like nothing changed at all? Eh, eh, oh, eh, oh, 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 eh, eh, oh, eh, oh.
Hey everybody, welcome to Crosspoint. I'm Abby, and we are so glad that you are joining us for our annual At the Movies series. Today we're diving into one of the most anticipated films of the summer, the Odyssey. That's why we kick things off with Bastille's Pompeii. Over the next few weeks, we'll explore the powerful stories behind some of this summer's biggest movies and discover the timeless truths about faith, hope, and God that connect with our own stories. And today we're starting with a question that every one of us has asked at some point. Where do I really belong? Deep down, we all long for a place to call home. We cheer for our heroes who fight to get there because in many ways, we're all searching for it ourselves. So stick around because today's message just might change the way that you think about home and about God. Now, we've been doing this series for 14 years, and the best part of joining us at the movies is if it's your first time with us, you've got some free movie tickets coming your way. Here's how you can get them. If you scan this QR code, tell us about yourself, including your mailing address, and we'll drop some movie tickets in the mail for you this week, simply as a way of saying thank you for joining us today. And if someone invited you, let us know that too. Couple things before we dive into today's movie. This weekend is back to school kickoff weekend, which means not only is it move up weekend in our Crosspoint kids and student environments, but we've got lots of fun and parties happening here all weekend after each of our Sunday services. This is specifically designed with families in mind. So if you're looking for some fun with bounce houses, Kona ice snow cones, and some great people and fun music, head on over to the Crosspoint campus today and join the fun. Plus, for all of our rising 7th through 12th grade students, CSM, Crosspoint Student Ministries, is kicking off the school year on August 9th with an amazing event called The Chase. Students will be divided into teams for a multi-week survivor-themed competition filled with fun challenges, opportunities to make new friends, and some encouragement to help you start your year strong. Each week is designed to be an easy entry point for new students, including our incoming 7th graders. All right, we've got a great service today. We're kicking off at the movies with one of the best movies of the summer, The Odyssey. So before we hear what Curt has to say, check out the trailer.
Tell me what you remember.
A wife? A son.
And then what?
We won the war. Help me go home.
This is a household waiting for a master. I want you to choose me.
Ithaca's king is coming back.
No, he's not.
What would he do if he came back here and find all these suitors in his house?
You're pining for a daddy you didn't even know, like some sniveling bastard.
Who's looking after your wife and son?
Do you see?
My dad is coming home.
Bringing vengeance.
Bringing it all.
I need everyone at this party dead.
I can still save them.
You're a man who needs to control his fate. But you cannot control this. That world is gone.
No one could stand between me and home. Not even the gods. Keep us free! I think it's asleep.
All right, here we go at the Movies 14. Who's excited about this? You guys ready for this? Yeah, I tell you what, every single year, we get so excited about this because we love movies, right? They connect with us, they connect with our hearts, and we find these spiritual themes, and we feel like every movie, nearly every movie, has a way for us to connect it back to something that God is about, his character. And so that's what we're going to be doing over the next few weeks, some of the spiritual questions these movies raise. So really, really excited to have you with us this weekend. My name's Curt, and if you are here for the first time, you've got free movie tickets coming your way. It's so cool that you're here with us on this weekend. Make sure you hit the connection card, whether that's the physical one in the room. And let's make some noise for those tuning in online this weekend, our online friends. So excited to have you with us tuning on this weekend. We want you to know you're with us, and make sure you hit this card as well. If you are joining us for the first time online, fill that digital connection card out. You will have free movie tickets coming your way. Now, real quick, a quick look at where we're going the next few weeks. Next weekend, we're going to be looking at Toy Story 5, and we're going to be looking at how your greatest impact may be next. Sometimes we feel like, hey, I don't know if I've lived the best part of my life. We're going to talk about how what's next may be the best thing yet. And then the week after that, we're going to look at the new Spider-Man movie, which is called A Brand New Day. And we're going to be looking at the future you, how to embrace who I am becoming. So really hope you'll join us over these next few weekends. Now, this I'm not kidding. This weekend's movie, in my opinion, it's like one of the top 3 movies in the last decade for me. I mean, wow. How many? Just make some noise if you've seen The Odyssey, just out of curiosity. Okay, wow, a lot of you. That awesome. Now, as you saw in the trailer right here, the story is this Greek hero Odysseus, and he spends basically 10 years on this grueling journey trying to return home to Ithaca after he fights in the Trojan War, and he fights these mythical monsters. He goes, he's kind of being oppressed by all these gods that are coming against him, and all the time his wife Penelope and his son Telemachus. Basically, they're trying to fend off suitors who are trying to take over the kingdom because Odysseus is gone, and he's trying to make his journey home.
Now, perhaps this movie was engaging to me because I didn't get any of that out of lit class. Not gonna lie. When I was sitting in high school lit class, I'm like, man, this story, I don't get it. This thing came alive. It was amazing. And honestly, what's really cool about this is one of humanity's oldest stories. I mean, it's this longing to get home. In fact, Christopher Nolan, who produced the movie, he actually talked about some of the central themes of this movie, in his opinion, were family, homecoming, and the cost of the journey. The things it requires to actually return to the ones that you love, to actually be restored in relationship, whatever that place is that you call home. And so this story has some pretty massive connects to another journey home that we find in the gospel according to Luke. And in this story we're going to look at today that Jesus tells us, we actually get some pretty amazing pictures of the person of God. And so today we're going to look at this. We're going to look at this picture of God that we find in Scripture and kind of look at that through the lens of this movie, the Odyssey. But we're not going to do it according to Curt. All right, we're going to do this according to Jesus and this story we find in this ancient antiquity, this book known as the Bible. And the Bible is really just, a story of God's character and his presence and his activity in the lives of people throughout history. And so, me personally, I have a lot of opportunities to talk to people about God. I mean, certainly from the stage, but personally as well. In fact, I just got back from a month-long rest and study break, creative hiatus, which it's so good to be back with you guys this weekend. Really, really glad to be back with you. Yeah, I'm excited to be back. And I'm thankful for our leadership that values fresh leaders. It gives every summer me and my family some time to unplug, disconnect, to spend some time not just restoring some of the inner things in our lives, but disconnecting from email and just allowing our spirits to be restored, some of our relationships to be restored, and they just value hell. It was such a good time. And during this time, we spend a lot of time traveling, and we run into people, meet people, and the question always comes up. In fact, we looked at this question last weekend when we were talking about identity. You meet people, and they're like, hey, what do you do? And for me, that's a fascinating question because it creates some really interesting conversations. And, being a pastor today is different than like 25, 30 years ago when I was new into ministry and began as a pastor. And so when I meet people, I don't lead with, hey, I'm a pastor, all right? Because there are that's a lot of religious people and even pastors are very polarizing in our world today, and not for good reasons. All right, and so often I will say something like when I meet new friends, like we met some new friends, Neil and Gail, this past couple weeks, and when we got to the place and they were like, hey, what do you do? I said, well, I'm a pastor of a church for people who don't like church. And Neil looked at me and he kind of started laughing. And that's usually what people do. They're like, well, that might actually be the kind of church I'd like to go to. And they're like, do you not do like any religious things? I'm like, oh, we don't do religious things. We definitely do spiritual things. We're just into the person of Jesus and really trying to understand what is Jesus and what does it mean to know him and follow him in the world. And that led to a lot of questions about faith and who God is and how that seems so much different than so much of what we see in our world. I kind of have a particular bent where I love talking to people that have walked away from God. I love trying to understand if you used to pursue God and now you don't have a relationship with God, or you just feel like God is irrelevant and so you kind of walked away. I'm like, hey, can we talk about the picture of God that you have in your heart? Like not to judge it, not to twist your arm on it, but what is the picture of God in your head? What's the picture of God that you have? And I often just go, okay, I just wonder how accurate that picture is with the God of the universe. Because sometimes, especially when people talk to me and they find I'm a pastor and we start talking about God, I just find that the picture that they're painting is not one that I've really experienced or the God that I've come to follow. And so before we dive into this story and the Odyssey and this picture of God, I want to talk about a few pictures of God. In fact, some of the pictures we paint in our minds sometimes, I want to look at a couple of these pictures that I hear often. One of them is football coach God. It's the coach who's always got the whistle around his neck, which, by the way, these are all sponsored by ChatGPT, just so you know. These are all mine. I put these in for you, and they spit this out. Football coach God is he's always got the whistle in his mouth. Every day you feel I must have made a mistake, right? I'm running laps, I must have done something wrong. You drop a pass, you run a mile, right? You miss a blocking assignment, guess what? You're going to run a mile, right? You fumble the football, I'm going to break my foot, up your John Brown hind parts, and then you're going to run a mile, right? And you're like, is this like Denzel Washington? Looks like Denzel Washington, right? It's not Remember the Titans, but we always feel like we're on the other side of goodness, of not being good right there. And some of us, we feel like we're one step away from always running a mile. We're never good enough. Now, another picture of God that sometimes we throw around is what I would call principle God. And this is like, where like we picture God in the lunchroom, like he's got his clipboard, he's always keeping track of all the mistakes we're making, always disappointed in us, right? Like principle God, we're always one step away, one mistake away, one, like drink away, one TV show, one movie away, from being in detention, and not just like detention, but like maybe even eternal detention, right? And it's just hard. It's hard to have any affection for a God or say, hey, I want you to be a part of my life when you feel like you're always afraid of that person. And then maybe my favorite picture of God that I sometimes hear about is what I would sum up as TSA agent God. This is the one where like you don't really know what's expected of you, right? Like you're like, do I take my laptop out? Do I keep my shoes on? Do I take them off? Like, do I empty my pockets? Like, what am I supposed to do, right? Am I supposed to like memorize scripture? I really wanted to go on spring break, but I felt guilty, like I need to go on the mission trip. Like, what am I supposed to do? And so all these things plague your mind. And again, it's really hard to have an affection for a God or want a God, Heavenly Father, to be a part of your life when you feel like I don't even know where I stand with you. And then, like, depending on which church you go to, like, even here in the greater Indianapolis area, I mean, you could go to any church and a different person's going to get on a stage and they're going to give you a different set of rules. And you might be going, well, the last church I visited, like, I didn't even have a starting spot. Like, I couldn't even keep up. So, like, what am I supposed to do? And so whether it's like football coach God or it's TSA agent God, I don't want you to hear like God according to Curt or like what your friends think. I actually want us to look at the Gospel of Luke. I want us to look at a picture Jesus painted and the picture he gives of his dad. And we're going to do that as we kind of interweave that with some glimpses that we get in the movie, The Odyssey. Because see, I just can't help but ask when we look at this picture that we're going to look at, man, I just wonder if the world around us knew about this God right here. Like, I just don't know that you would ever walk away from this God. I mean, because he's pretty remarkable. And I'm just not sure when we talk about God that we're always talking about the picture that Jesus paints. So that's kind of what makes this weekend's movie so cool. See, Odysseus, we get inspired when we see somebody who is on a relentless pursuit of home. And that's what Odysseus is doing. I mean, he's in this pursuit of restoring whatever home is for him. I mean, it's not a location. It's restoring the relationship with his wife and with his son. And it reminds us of a Heavenly Father who emptied heaven for you and me just to show us how far he would go for us. So let's look at this picture that Jesus painted right here. All right, this is the Gospel of Luke. Here's how Jesus kicks it off. All right, it says, Jesus told him a story. A man had two sons. Now, many of you may have heard this story many times before, and you're like, here we go. I know this story. I know how it goes. Hey, don't get ahead of the story. All right, every time I look at this story, they're like, whoa, like some new discoveries right here. Some of you might be hearing this for the very first time. Jesus told him a story. A man had two sons. The younger son told his father, I want my share of your estate now, before you die. So his father agreed to divide his wealth between his sons. So just a little context right here. Back in this day and age, if you were to go to your father, ask for your inheritance early, that would be like you saying, hey, I wish you were dead. All right, that's like a death wish on your father. All right, what you're basically saying is, hey, you're worth more to me dead than you're worth to me alive right now. All right, so it's kind of like, all right, so like, I don't know what your life insurance policy is, but like, your loved ones are looking at you like, hey, you could be like a really good down payment on my house in this market right now. All right, like that's what's going on right here. Think about how Thanksgiving is going to go if you went with that request right there. All right, so like, how many years do you think you're going to be around? I mean, I'm not wishing it away. I'm just wondering if you knew how much longer you're going to be here, right? So like, that's what's happening in this story right here. And the crazy thing is the dad, he goes, okay. He's like, if that's what you want, all right. And he divests himself. He divides his wealth. He lets his son go. And he gives him the keys, and he doesn't hold him hostage. He doesn't even try to trick him into staying. Verse 13, it says, a few days later, the younger son packed all his belongings and moved to a distant land, and there he did what normal teenagers do. He wasted all of his money doing wild things, wild living, whatever that may have been. Now, sometimes this story is referred to as the story of the prodigal son, which is fascinating because Jesus never called it that. But we assume that like prodigal means lost, like this was a lost son. But that's not what prodigal means. Prodigal actually means wasted. All right, prodigal means he wasted this opportunity. Now, if we're honest, that's something we can all connect with, right? Because I mean, we can all think of a moment where we've wasted an opportunity. Verse 14. It says, about that time, the money ran out and a great famine swept over the land and he began to starve. He persuaded a local farmer to hire him, and the man sent him into his fields to feed the pigs. Now, just a little context here in Jewish culture, there was nothing more unclean than working with pigs. Right? Pigs were like the most unclean animal, and not only were you an outcast, like from like social society, you were a spiritual outcast. If you were working with pigs, I mean, you were dirty, you worked in the dirt, you smelled. It says the young man became so hungry that even the pods he was feeding the pigs looked good to him, but no one gave him anything. Verse 17, when he finally came to his senses, he said to himself, at home, even the hired servants have food to spare, and here I am dying of hunger. Now, it's amazing what pigs will do to your life, all right? Sometimes you have to hit rock bottom to actually come to your senses, all right? Sometimes when people hit rock bottom, they'll go, oh my God, what do I do? I'm at the lowest of the low. What do I do right here? And usually if I'm meeting with somebody, I'll say, well, this would actually be a good moment to take notes. Take some notes. Because perhaps there's some things that God's trying to show you in the rock bottom that he can't show you when you're up on the hill. Maybe there's some things that God's wanting you to see about yourself when you're in rock bottom, that this is the only moment where you're going to be able to have these learnings. And so in the midst of this rock bottom moment, this man comes to his senses, and then he begins to do something rather interesting right here. Perhaps you've done this before. All right, this is interesting. Verse 18, he starts talking to himself. He says, hey, I got an idea. I'm going to go home to my father, and I'm going to say, Father, I've sinned against both heaven and you, and I'm no longer worthy of being called your son. Please take me on as a hired servant. So here's a guy who's looking back and go, I used to actually have it pretty good. I didn't realize how good I had it, but there's no way I'm coming back as his son. So here's my plan. I'm going to go back to my ex-father, and I'm going to ask him if he'll give me a job. There's no way he's going to take me back any other way, but maybe he'll give me a lowly position, because even that is going to be better than what I'm doing right now. And so let me go and rehearse my speech that'll perhaps let me get back to home. And I just wonder if maybe you came to church today or tuned in online today, and maybe you didn't know you were coming to church. Maybe you showed up in town, and your family that you came to visit, they're like, hey, we're going to church. You're like, I didn't know. I wasn't planning on this. Or maybe you got a postcard in the mail, and it said, hey, free movie tickets. Or maybe you got invited by somebody, and they said, hey, this is kind of a cool series we do. We talk about movies, from the big screen and some of the spiritual connections. And hey, what's the worst case scenario? You don't like church, but you walk away with some free movie tickets. So it's a win-win, right? Maybe you didn't know you were coming to church, but right now, maybe you're like, hey, I'm here, and I don't know if you rehearse your church speech. When you go to be around church people, sometimes you feel like you got to change your vernacular a bit. That's why I don't always lead with, hey, I'm a pastor, because I can see the wheels turning. The moment I say that, it's like people are like, how many times did I cuss in the last 10 minutes? Oh my gosh, and so it's just like you change. You start doing the hashtag blessed language. You're like, well, that's what church people do, and so you're like, I got to get my act together, and so you start rehearsing that. Well, that's what this son is doing right here, because he wasted his resources. And Jesus says something right here that creates a pause. It says, so he, the son, returned home to his father, and while he was still a long way off, his father saw him coming. Now this is interesting, because as you think about those images from ChatGPT a few minutes ago of God that I showed you, those aren't the pictures at all. Those aren't the pictures at all that Jesus paints. In fact, Jesus, he paints a picture of a dad who every single day goes out to the porch and he's like, where's my son? I'm looking for my son. Where's my son? Oh, is that my son? Where's my son? Where's my kid? Is my kid here yet? Is my kid coming around the corner? Where's my kid? See, God is not impatient. He'll wait as long as he needs. Now, what's fascinating about this story is Jesus builds in another figure into this story. The father has some servants. And I'm pretty confident the servants would come out to the porch periodically and they'd say, hey, boss, listen, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I don't think your son's coming home. I don't think he's coming. The dad's like, no, I'm waiting. He's coming. Is that him coming right there? Listen, I don't think he's coming. I know your son. I've kind of spent some time with your son. He's not that great a guy. I'm starting to tell you. I don't think he's coming home. And the dad Says, hey, why don't you take care of the house? Let me worry about the son. And the dad just stays on the porch every single day. Is that my son right there? Is my son coming? Where's my son? Do I see him? See, I just wonder how long he waited. Like he waited long enough for his son to waste all of his resources. He waited long enough for his son to get another job. He waited long enough for his son to, rehearse his long speech about coming home. He waited long enough for his son to basically have no clothes and shoes on his feet, and, he's dirty. And it says, while he was still a long way off. Meaning while you're driving up 465, while you're driving up I-69, before you ever decided to get off, come down Oleo Road. Yep, while he's still a long way off. See, the next picture Jesus paints of this dad would have rocked the ancient world. Now, there's this real cool moment in this movie where Odysseus, right after they storm Troy and we're trying to free Troy, he reflects on that and he says, I think we just broke the foundation of our society. He says, I hope it can be rebuilt, but I think we may have just broke this. I hope one day it can be rebuilt. See, that's this moment right here. I think what Jesus paints right here totally disrupts the foundation of what everyone understood or thought about God. Here's what he says. He says, filled with love and compassion, he ran to his son and embraced him, and he kissed him. He ran. The God, think about this, the God of the universe, he ran. Like he sees his son a long way off and he steps off the porch. He's like, he starts running after his son. He's like, I'm going to run to him. Can you imagine, just think about this. Can you imagine what the world would do if they had a picture of a God who ran after them? Which, by the way, did you know like Christianity is not the only religion that has this kind of story in it? I mean, nearly every religion, every world religion has some kind of story that reflects this, where you got a father and you got a son or two sons and they're wayward or they're wasting, their resources, different variations. And not to disparage any of those other religions, I just want you to know one of the key ingredients of the Jesus story, one of the turns in the story is the Jesus version is the only one where the father runs to the son before he gets his act together. He runs to his son before anything changes. It says he ran to his son, embraced him, and kissed him. And then this next verse, his son said to him, Father, I have sinned against both heaven and you. I'm no longer to be worthy even to be called your son. I mean, notice the son didn't even get his speech out. I mean, the son didn't even have a chance to say what he'd rehearsed to his dad. His dad just embraces him. He hugs him. He put all these nice things on him. He says, hey, bring the family gifts. It says his father said to his servants, quick, bring the finest robe in the house. Get a ring for his finger, put sandals on his feet. In this next one is really fascinating. And kill the calf that we've been fattening. Now this is fascinating. Scholars actually would argue today that to eat the fattened calf would actually take weeks. Like maybe 2 weeks to prepare that. Like you don't just decide on a day, hey, go get the calf, let's eat it later today. No, this is 2 or 3 weeks in the making. They would have been preparing. The father would have been anticipating his son every day. He's looking for his son. Is that my son? Is that my son? The servants are coming and saying, hey, I don't think he's coming. He's like, hey, get back to work. Keep preparing the calf. My son, I'm waiting. Where is he? Where's my son? See, I just wonder, for those of us in the room, those of us tuning in online right now, I just wonder, do we know that God runs? Now see, the Odyssey is kind of a flip of this script right here. Odysseus runs. He spends 10 grueling years running, trying to return home to Ithaca after the Trojan War. He does everything possible. He does everything within his might. He never gives up. Sometimes he's the only one of all of his men that survive. And he doesn't run to come home to take over and take charge. He doesn't run to, come home and set the record straight. He doesn't even run to get back all of his entitlements. And no, you know what he does? He runs home to actually serve and lift up and empower. He runs for the promise of home with his son and with his wife, Penelope. And by the way, the son barely knew him. I mean, his son, when he left for the Trojan War, he and his son barely knew each other. In fact, his son knew of his dad. The whole story, the son is actually trying to find out, hey, is my dad still alive? Is he still coming back? Do we still have a king, or is he gone? He's looking for evidence of whether his dad is still there, and he begins to hear stories. In fact, there's this brilliant moment where Odysseus meets his son, Telemachus. And Telemachus doesn't know that he's meeting his dad, because his dad, Odysseus, he returns as a beggar. He returns, not as a king, but he quietly comes in. And he begins to interact, and he runs into his son, and his son says, hey, do you know my dad? And he says, oh, I know your dad. And he says, is he alive? He says, he's alive. Which, by the way, I don't want to give you the movie away, but it's been around since before the Bible, the story. So you kind of know the story, all right? So the movie just brings it all to life. But there's this moment where they're standing there, and Odysseus, he says to his son, he says, your dad's going to return. He's coming to return. He will be here at the appointed time. And then he looks at Telemachus and he says to him, I just want you to know, you're the beautiful son of a king. Oh, he will be so, so proud of you. Have you ever considered that that's how God feels about you? That, not only does he wait on you, but he runs to you. And before you even make a turn, before you give your speech, he says, hey, you're the beautiful son. You're the beautiful daughter of a king who is oh so proud of you. The story should have gone that the son came home and gave his speech about how sorry he was, how much he messed up. But the dad already knew that. The dad already knew that. He doesn't do any of that before. The son, before he can even get the speech out, before he can get a word out of his mouth, the dad runs to him. Do we know that God runs? And see, in ancient times, this would have actually been a very undignifying thing. I don't know why it is, but to hike up your tunic, for men to show their bare legs, for some odd reason, this would be a really bad thing in ancient days. Distinguished men would never do that. They'd sit back, they'd wait for the son to come home, and then they'd be like, well, son, I'm glad you made it home. And then they'd ask him to okay, so what's the story? Tell me the story. Did you eventually come to your senses? Or did you finally get it together? Did you finally realize everything I've been telling you? I actually know what I'm talking about? That's not the story right here. The story is that dad hikes his tunic up and it's asses and elbows all the way down the lane. He's flailing elbows. You see his buttocks. You see his bare legs. He's totally undignified and running after his son. And then he says, hey, we've got a party. We've been preparing for you. Prepare the party. We've been waiting for a very long time. See, I just wonder what would happen if your mother, your father, your sister, your brother, your neighbors, the people who mow your lawn, your accountant, your attorney. Yeah, I wonder if, the people who you spend time with on the bleachers at games, students, those who you're in clubs with, you're on teams with, on the field, on the courts. I just wonder what they might think if they knew that there was a God who runs. Do we know there's a God who runs? Because most of our picture has to do with us having to earn grace back into his presence. See, I think this is why these movies inspire us. Because we see someone go to great lengths to not give up, to not stop waiting and wanting to be restored in love and for the promise of home. See, Jesus goes on to tell us, he says, we must celebrate with a feast. For the son of mine was dead and has now returned to life. He was lost, but now he's found. So let's begin to party. He doesn't say, hey, younger son, why don't you get up in front of everybody? Tell them what you've been doing. Tell them where you've been. Tell them all the stuff you were doing you shouldn't have been doing. No, the party wasn't determined because the son got his act together or was remorseful. I would even argue the son didn't even have a chance to do that. The father just goes and throws his arms around. The son didn't even have a chance to tell him what he's been doing. I don't know that I could really want a TSA agent God in my life where I don't really know where I stand. But I definitely would dig a God who runs after me. Because see, this version of God that Jesus gives us says that while the son was a long ways away, while he was a long way off, regardless of how long you've been away, how far you feel, if you ever felt like you're a long way off, I just want you to know he'll wait for you. He's not impatient. In fact, I want you to listen to this song. Now, the band's going to do a song, and as you listen to this and just kind of let this settle in, I just want you to consider this reality that there is a God who not only runs after you, but he waits.
Hey God, it's me. I've been lost a little while, walking all these miles, and I'm in need of some direction. 'Cause down here it's getting hard. I've been searching near and far. Help me believe you wait for me. I'm taking the long way home, stuck on the same old dead-end road. I wanna leave the life I know, but I just can't let go. You wait for me, you keep on holding on, 'cause heaven knows I'm not that strong. I'm sorry it took so long. I was taking the long way home, but you wait for me. Oh, you wait for me. Oh, now I see. I should have asked you years ago, but my heart was full of stones and disbelief. But you were patient while you washed away my doubt. When you laid that roadmap out, your path was straighter. You wait for me if I'm taking the long way home, stuck on the same old dead-end road. I wanna leave the life I know, but when I just can't let go, you wait for me, you keep on holding on. Heaven knows I'm not that strong. I'm sorry it took so long. I was taking the long way home, but you wait for me. Oh, you wait for me. You wait for me. Oh, every twist and every turn, every lesson that I learned, every step I take, you always made a way. If I stumble and I fall, and if my walk becomes a crawl, you carry me when I can't find my strength. You wait for me if I'm taking the long way home, stuck on the same old dead-end road. I wanna leave the life I know, but I just can't let go. You wait for me, keep on holding on. Heaven knows I'm not that strong. I'm sorry it took so long. I was taking the long way home, but you wait for me. Oh, you wait for me. Oh, you wait for me.
Yeah, that was some props for the band. Wow. You know, God waits for you. He's not impatient. He's not impatient at all. You know what's fascinating about this picture that Jesus gives us of the God of the universe? And we see these pictures in movies, I mean, things like the Odyssey, where we see somebody relentlessly going after something. When we look at the beginning of this chapter, where we get this picture of God right here, take a look at how Jesus starts this chapter. He says, tax collectors and other notorious sinners often came to listen to Jesus teach. This made the Pharisees and the teachers of religious law complain that he was associating with such sinful people. And look what it says, even eating with them. He's like, oh my gosh, he's eating with horrible people. He's eating with sinful people. Now the sinners, you know what the sinners were like? They're like, well, at least we're not tax collectors. I mean, those people are really, really bad. I mean, we're just sinners. I mean, but Jesus was hanging with these people. Now this is so fascinating right here. See, Jesus, he's like, hey, while we're on this subject, let me give you a picture of what God's like. And he launches into, hey, there was once a man who had 2 sons. And as he begins to tell the story, you know, it's like, Jesus, what are you saying right here? Like, what are you trying to tell us about, like, notorious sinners? What he's trying to say is my Father is always on the edge of heaven, and he's just waiting. He's hoping. He's preparing. He's assuming, he's expecting, he's waiting. He's just standing there waiting. He's not impatient. He's waiting to see his son, to see his daughter. He's like, I'm glad you check the boxes of your religiosity. I'm glad you go to church 2 times a month. I'm glad you serve. I'm glad you give. I'm glad you do all those things. But just, that's not why I ran to you. I ran to you because my heart is filled with love and compassion for you. God runs. Now one last thing on this story, which is really interesting. That the party starts. The son has come home. But now we've got to deal with the older brother. The older brother's out in the field, and he's grumbling about the fact that the father has been waiting on his brother and seemingly ignoring him. And so, he starts making all these statements. Now, I want to draw your attention to your connection cards real quick because we have some next steps on your connection cards. And one of the things I want to encourage you to do this week is to read Luke chapter 15. And maybe that's just something you say, hey, this week sometime, I'm going to just read this story because I want to get a full picture of the God that Jesus wanted us to get a picture of. All right, so maybe this week, just one morning this week, one afternoon, one evening, you just spend a little time reading through Luke 15. Now, there's some other next steps. Maybe you're not there yet. Maybe you're like, hey, just me walking in the door, tuning in is a first step. Awesome. Maybe your next step's just coming back next weekend. Maybe just staying curious and continuing to lean in and explore this God who runs. All right, maybe for you, you know somebody that you're like, hey, they could really dig this. And so you want to invite somebody to at the movies next weekend. All right, a number of next steps right there. But see, it's interesting. Again, sometimes we refer to this story as the prodigal son story, but maybe a better name would be the prodigal sons. Because see, he's got 2 boys that are kind of out, wasting their opportunities. Because see, it's interesting, this whole story, that the father has been in the front of the house waiting for one son to come back. And by the time we get to the end of the story, the father's going out to the back of his house and he's looking for his other son. And he says, hey, son, what are you doing out here? Why aren't you in at the party? Now see, I have a sneaky suspicion that there's 2 kinds of people that are joining us today. See, one group might be those of you who perhaps are joining us for the first time. And maybe, you feel like you've been a long way off. And God's been running after you your whole life. And you're wondering to yourself, you're like, I don't even know how I ended up in a church in Fishers, Indiana on the last weekend of July, or maybe like how I tuned in to Crosspoint, I don't know how I ended up here. Well, I actually know exactly how you ended up here. It's because God's been setting you up for a really long time. And so when we say, man, we're really excited you're here, it's not just that we're excited, like God is really excited you put a toe in the door. And then there's a second group of us that we might just find ourselves on the outside of that party kind of looking in. And you know what you can do when you're standing on the outside of a party? You begin to compare like how wonderful the father is and how much time he spent, waiting for the son and how good he was to the son and all the things he's bringing to what seems like everybody else and like he seemingly forgot about you. And you begin to compare like their blessings to your blessings. And before long, you're like, well, I wanted to get a healing. Why did he get a healing? Why did he get restored? Why didn't I get restored? And before long, you find yourself kind of arms crossed, standing outside in the backyard looking in at the party. And one of the pictures I absolutely love about this story Jesus tells is that while the father was waiting out front for the one son to come home, he paints this picture of a father who's inviting the son out back to come back in to the party, into the house, because he runs, he waits. Then the message isn't get your life together and then we can talk. The message is I'm throwing a party that requires a sacrifice. And by the one, I'm the one that went first. So if you're here today and perhaps, you've never had a relationship with God, or maybe you're here or tuning in online and at some point something happened and you walked away from God and you did not know that God runs. Man, good news. He's coming for you. All right, he's working. He's always working. You may not see it. You may be in the low of the lows. You may not see how God's working right now. He's always working. He's always moving toward his kids. He loves you. And if I'm you, listen, I'd give my life to a God who runs for me. Not because I'm getting my act together, but simply because I've been willing to put one toe in the door inside the building. I've had one inkling of a turn toward him, and that's all it took. And trust me, he's looking way off. He's looking way off. He's not impatient. He's been waiting for a really long time. In fact, we're going to close doing a song We're going to sing one more song together, and I love this song. It's called Waymaker, and it kind of reminds us that, man, even when we don't feel like God's doing anything, we don't even know if God's around, like God's always working. He's always working to restore us to him, to bring more joy, more peace, more fullness of life. And perhaps today, this is the invitation you need as we look at this through the lens of the Odyssey and Odysseus, and through the lens of these two sons and this picture that Jesus paints of what it means to come home, and not to a church, but to come home into a relationship with God that I'm telling you, it'll absolutely change your life. So let's go ahead and stand to our feet. We're going to sing this in a moment. I'd love to pray for us before we do that. Heavenly Father, thank you for this picture. Thank you for this image that Jesus paints for us, how you're always working, you're always moving. I mean, you're always waiting, you're always, even running at times and doing things we don't even see to restore us to you, to draw us to you, to help us to experience you. In fact, even right now, I believe you're moving in this place. I believe you're moving in the ways that only you can do through the airwaves right now, to draw us to deeper places of joy, deeper places of peace, to deeper places of relationship with you. And it all starts because you run after us. You're the one that made the first move, and the second move, and third move. And so God, I just pray that wherever we're at in that journey, whatever that looks like for us today, that you would help us to take the one step we need to take today. Maybe for some of us, it's just taking a step to a deeper place of trust and surrender. Maybe for some of us, it's just a first move in your direction, and we have some questions, but we're curious, and we're going to keep pursuing you. Maybe for others of us, we know the very first step starts with saying, God, I want to open my life up to you. I want to give you my life. I want to take advantage of what Jesus did on the cross, how Jesus emptied out heaven to show me how far he was willing to go for me. And I want to know your grace, and I want to walk with you. And I'm not going to be perfect. Oh my gosh, not going to be perfect, but I need you. I can feel it in my heart right now. And if that's you right now, you can just say yes to that. And Father, I pray that you would receive us as we receive you. And I just pray that you build us up. You build our confidence. You'd replenish the deeper recesses of our soul. And we just want to thank you. God, thank you for your patience. And thank you for running after us. I pray.
Waymaker, never stop working. You never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop working. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. 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 That is who you
Hey, thanks so much for joining us today. And as always, your experience doesn't have to stop here. If you're looking for some ways to grow and get connected outside of the weekend experience, we have some great new growth opportunities beginning next week. For the parents out there, if you want less conflict, stronger relationships, and a clearer path forward as a parent, check out The Parenting Project, a 6-week seminar that will give practical tools to help you and your family thrive. It begins Tuesday, August 11th. Plus another 4-week experience open to anyone who is looking for some clarity around your personal mission. Developing your mission statement for life and work begins Wednesday, August 12th. Check these and other great group opportunities out here. Before we go, a quick shout out to those of you who are givers. Thank you for the ways that you invest in the lives of people through Crosspoint. None of this happens without your generosity through the Joy Box. Not only does your giving fund things like back-to-school kickoff parties and free movie tickets for first-timers, but also things like this online broadcast. So thank you. And if you're not a giver but you'd like to become one, you can donate at this QR code and become a part of the amazing group of people that fuels all of the goodness that comes out of this place. Last, if you would like someone to pray with you, we would love to do that. You can text the keyword Need Prayer to 317-834-7373, and our prayer team will give you a call this week. Thanks for joining us today. We can't wait to see you next time for the next installment of At the Movies with Toy Story 5. See you next time.